excited to have Shelby here with us today. So we're just going to wait a few minutes here and we will get going. So for the participants, we're going to ask that for the main presentation that you stay off camera until we open up the Q&A portion, because we are streaming into Facebook. So we're going to try to make that look as pretty as possible. And if you are, I'm not sure if we're into Facebook just yet, but if you are joining us on Facebook, we have Jessica, who is the lead for the Luke Air Force Base network, and she's going to be monitoring the chat for us. So if you're on Facebook, go ahead and you can comment under the video. If you're here with us in the Zoom, if you would just jump into the chat and introduce yourself and let us know how you're affiliated with the military community. So just a few more minutes here, and then we're going to get started. Okay, and it looks like we are live on Facebook and we have people engaging. So welcome to those of you who are joining us on Facebook. And for those of you here in the Zoom, thank you for engaging in the comments. We're already seeing some roll in. Looks like we have a couple different services represented here, which is amazing. Always happy to see that. So with that, I'm going to introduce myself and tell you a little bit about MSPN, and I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to Shelby. So hello, my name is Amanda Scott. I am the network lead for the Davis-Monthan Military Spouse Professional Network, which is in Tucson, Arizona, for those of you that don't know. And with that, we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about MSPN. So what we're looking at here are a couple of statistics that are actually a few years old, but I really wanted to talk about the why. So everyone here is affiliated with the military community, and I know is extremely passionate about military spouse employment. I'm a military spouse myself. My husband is active duty assigned to Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, and that's really what led me to get involved with this cause. So 16% is actually an underrepresentation at this point in time. We're actually looking around 30% or higher, according to some sources, for unemployment. And so that's why we're so excited to have Shelby with us to introduce another resource for our spouses as we really look to push that number way, way down. So before we do that, I'm going to pass it over to Jessica, who is the lead at Luke Air Force Base, to kind of talk through what month to month, what MSPN is.
Hi, everybody. I want to first talk about the MSPN as a network. We are in 8 countries, 25 states with over 60 networks. So every month we have military spouses that are coming to Zoom meetings right now, or they're coming in person here soon, and they are learning how to develop their skills, or how to upskill in different areas, and how to network with each other, and also how to, fresh over those LinkedIn profiles. What we do is provide different ways for you to grow in your career, and also connect you with local employers if you're interested in looking for a career at this time, or if you're looking in ways to upskilling. So every month we meet, we have groups for every location that we're in, and we are constantly trying to help spouses and those in the military community really make an impact in what they're doing.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Okay, so with that, we are going to have our guest speaker for today. So today we have Shelby, who's joining us from the Be Connected Career Navigation Program. So over to you.
All right, good afternoon, and thank you for taking the time to be with us today. My name is Shelby Alavekios. I'm the military spouse lead for the Be Connected Career Navigation Program. I'm excited to be partnering with the Arizona leads of Hiring Our Heroes, Military Spouse Professional Networks, and even more excited, I didn't fumble through the name, to get you, the military family member, connected to the right career resource at the right time. Today, we're going to talk all about the ways our program can give you a competitive advantage in the job market within Arizona, but know that the tools that we're going to bring to the table today can be applied to any job search anywhere in the world. Next slide. This is only a small shameless plug for me to show you a couple pictures of my family before we jump into my amazing organization, the program that I work for, and why I'm passionate about military spouse employment. I wanted to tell you my story. Like many of us, I met my husband when I was barely of legal drinking age. I had big dreams and big plans, and then I decided to take a very uncertain future and become part of a military family. I found myself at age 21, about to graduate college up in upstate New York. Solidarity to anyone that has spent time at Fort Drum, and please feel free to drop your duty station, even if you're outside of the state of Arizona. And I found myself needing to do my first career pivot from my degree in wildlife science, right? I had chosen that degree with the thought that I would be giving back and saving the world and traveling the world, which I did as a military spouse, but also working with endangered species. And that just wasn't conducive to the workforce climate in upstate New York. So I knew I needed to pivot, do my first career pivot to environmental education. And from that first pivot on, my career would be a subsequent series of pivots. And I would face underemployment and struggles to feel like I fit within various job markets or within different company cultures even. I filled out a lot of job applications. I even undervalued myself at one point, and I was trying to take some low-level jobs. And I still was feeling like I somehow wasn't qualified with this bachelor's degree. And I know that many of us, especially those spouses that are in the state of Arizona, are really highly educated. And so that's not a positive way to feel. I even took a significant amount of time off and had to come back from an unemployment gap because I put my family first and cared for my military family as we traveled around the world. Here's what I learned in the last 10 years of finding my niche as an active duty spouse. My husband would say I'm corny, but it's a good thing that I don't care what he says. You can do whatever you put your mind to doing as it pertains to your career. It's probably going to be harder, and you're going to face more challenges than your peers. You might have more setbacks. You'll probably need to do a little bit more explaining, but you can get really creative in your job search. And I know that if I can find my niche, you can too. I'm passionate about my program. I'm passionate about military spouse employment. And I hope that this presentation will add value to your job search. Next slide. So who are we? What do we do? It's no secret that military life presents adversity. Being a part of a military family, it takes special people. So Be Connected as a whole aims to provide upstream approach to suicide prevention. That's the overarching goal of that whole program. You can think of Be Connected as an umbrella for connecting all of us to the right resource at the right time. And then the career navigation program of Be Connected, connecting to the right career resource at the right time. We're implemented by the Arizona Coalition for Military Families, and we have several key implementation partners, including the Arizona Department of Veteran Services, the Be Connected Career Nav team, and the whole program. We're here to support the Arizona Roadmap to Veteran Employment, and this includes you as military spouses, partners, and family members. Next slide. All right, so what's been the outcome of the program so far? Before expanding the program to military spouses, we had captured data on the success of transitioning service members. We are more than numbers, of course, but I just want to give you a little snapshot of what's been going on just in the last 2 quarters. So within the last 2 quarters, we've had 92 placements of service members with a median salary of over $72,000. This is important because, again, we provide the upstream approach to suicide prevention, and knowing that these placements have median salaries of over $72,000, we contribute to the upstream approach because those families now have food security, housing security, and job security. And the program is and was a huge success. So I came on in 2021, just after the pandemic, with the intention and the hope that we could expand our program to spouses, partners, and family members. And luckily, our program manager, Randy, who's helping facilitate today, was right on the same track with me. We knew we needed to start getting military spouses into this program so we could do the same great work with them. So since the beginning of 2021, we have been doing just that. We started our military spouse initiative, and we have tripled the number of military spouses within our career navigation program. And of course, we're not even close to the end of the year. And we're seeing some really great success stories. We're seeing spouses place in different occupations like STEM occupations, professional services, logistics. Again, here's my corny pitch that you can do whatever you set your mind to doing. We just need to make a plan with steps that are manageable for you to be able to take chunks out of that. And I'd like to tell you another story. This one's not mine. This is of a friend of mine now, Melissa, who was a spouse of an active duty service member. And she was actually about to go through a divorce and had returned to her home state. She started working with the career navigation program in March of 2021. She had a background in marketing, but she had been unemployed for several years as she cared for her military family. So she was feeling like she was no longer of value to the job market. And I'm finding that the more I work with military spouses, I love us for our ability to be outgoing and to network and to use the right resources. But what I'm finding is there's a lack of confidence as a major barrier because of these constant career changes and unemployment gaps. And really, as a group, we need to go beyond that and take our confidence to the next level because we have lots of skills that the job market wants. So I started with Melissa with some baby steps, all right? Knowing that her divorce was impending, it was going to be time sensitive. She might lose some of the benefits as a military spouse after her divorce. And I apologize, divorce I know is a very touchy, emotional subject within our community. So just know that we work with spouses, family members, partners. Legal marriage to our program is not important. If you love and support or have supported a service member, we'd like to help you as well. So she started taking these little chips away at her career readiness, started freelance ghostwriting for a blog with that social media marketing background. We made her a LinkedIn profile. We got her linked up with Onward to Opportunity, and she decided to pursue a PMP. And she started networking and doing informal interviews and found out she needed what's called a Wix website to be competitive in this market that she was going into. So it took us about 5 months to be able to get her truly career ready. But I'm happy to say she is now a copywriter and she is living her next chapter of her life and getting passive job opportunities within copywriting. And I want to take a moment to note that not only are we an inclusive organization, but we're an organization that really is going to set you up for success. The pillars of career readiness that we're going to go over are going to allow you to continue to get these passive job opportunities throughout your career. So we're thinking about the person who you're going to be tomorrow and helping you get where you need to go with the right career resource at the right time. All right. I have a question for you now. All right, there are various parts of career readiness. We all have different experiences, and we all probably think that we have some of these tagged down and some that still need work. So to you, go ahead and place in the chat what you think is the most important part of your career search, or what are you struggling with most? And then Randy's going to let me know what the chat says. And we'll give you about 30 seconds to put a couple comments in there. For some of us, it might be resume or interviewing, or maybe something totally different that you're struggling with.
All right, we're seeing some come through right now. Some are saying networking, leveraging my network.
Absolutely.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy, no.
Relationships, AKA networking.
And you guys can even drop your LinkedIn links within the chat at any point for others to connect with you. We're on LinkedIn. We'll drop ours as well. Anything else from the chat?
We've got branding, resume writing, interviewing, and personal branding again.
All right, well, let's move to the next slide and we'll start talking about all of these pillars. You guys are definitely hitting the nail on the head, right? And we all have those different aspects that we're struggling with or that we think are most important. Here's how our program is able to deliver such amazing results. The first thing that we do is one-on-one career guidance with our guidance professionals. There's a team of 4 of us that work directly with you, the career seeker. We are veterans. We are National Guard members, military spouses, and family members. So we understand your struggle at a deeper level. We're going to meet you where you're at, whether that be you needing help with the resume or interviewing or continued education or coming back from an unemployment gap. We'll address where there's barriers, and with you, we'll make steps to overcome them. The next thing we do is resume coaching. We can do this one-on-one in our Google Meets with our career readiness professionals, because one resume does not fit all. We have a resume training that's available online that can help you tailor your resume to each position that you're applying for. I like to think of resumes like cake recipes. All right, you have a base resume or a base recipe. Let's call this vanilla. And then depending on the position that you're applying for, maybe you need to flavor it for the job description, funfetti, or chocolate chip, or strawberry shortcake, right? The keywords within the job description are going to help sprinkle throughout the resume to make it the right flavor. And we can help you do that either one-on-one or just through watching that career readiness training. You might get it right away. All right. And the next thing, and something I really get excited about, is personal branding and networking. Your network is your net worth. We're going to show you how you can make a positive first impression and land those passive opportunities with a strong LinkedIn presence and a strong LinkedIn network. I know that we all have various social media sites, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, but we really got to get everybody to where the employers are. And that truly is LinkedIn. Focusing your attention there is going to make sure that you're successful. And just so I can share more of my knowledge with you, I didn't start getting passive opportunities until I had surpassed over 500 connections on LinkedIn. It takes time, but we'll take baby steps to get there. I have another question for you. Next slide. So your parents always tell you it's not what you know, it's who you know. So I want to hear from you. What do you guys think? What percentage of open positions are filled by referral? So filled by a recommendation from somebody else. Go ahead and put it in the chat, and Randy will read it out for us. Let's see how right our parents were, or those of us who had parents that said, it's not what you know, it's who you know. All right, Randy, do we
54%, 80%, 80 to 90, 98%,
okay.
75%.
So we all concur that our parents were right. So the statistics vary depending on what company you're applying with, but it's safe to say that over 60% of open positions are filled by referral. People trust who they know. The saying is, great people know great people. They trust that you're going to be a great candidate for an open position because somebody else is putting their reputation on the line to go to bat for you. So how do you get a referral if you just moved to the state of Arizona, or you're just starting out networking and you're not well connected on LinkedIn? Let's go to the next slide and we'll find out. Okay, matching to Arizona Veteran Supportive Employers. That's what AVSE stands for. This is the part of the program that I am really passionate about. All right, this brings in that network component. As part of our employer engagement team, I also get to work with our employers and help them earn that designation of Arizona Veteran Supportive Employer. Again, for short, that's AVSE. These employers have made the extra commitment to the military community to recruit, hire, retain, and grow military-connected talent within the state of Arizona. Our team, again, the guidance professionals here within the career navigation program, We also get together every Wednesday to suggest opportunities to you, the career seeker, military connected career seeker, with our employers. So we have this niche that we can hopefully just place you right into. And we're not going to do all the legwork for you. We already have a YouTube channel established where we talk about our employers. This is called Career Connections. We're going to talk about their culture, their benefits, the types of roles that they're looking to fill. And we hope that you'll listen and watch and find open opportunities with our employers. And then let us help you with your resume, with your personal professional brand, with your interviewing, with all of the elements of a successful career search, and we'll make a warm handoff to that employer. All right, let's move to the next slide. So there are hundreds of Arizona veteran supportive employers. Again, these are public and private sector employers. We have about 112 active Arizona veteran supportive employers that talk to us often and engage with us often. And this includes state agencies. So we're a state and local resource. State agencies are coming on board to be able to offer more local opportunities for you. And it's something that we're really excited about. Again, these employers want to hire, retain, and promote and grow you. So let us do that warm handoff after you're ready for connection by getting all of the key pillars of your career success organized. All right, let's move on to the next slide and see how you can take advantage of all this. So now the important work begins. All right, we're all familiar with QR codes. There's so many different ways for you to get involved with the program, but it all starts with an inquiry form. So you can take out your phone and use your photo, take a photo of the QR code, and it will bring you directly to the form. I'll also have Randy drop the link to the form in the chat, or you can text 2021 MilSpouse to the number on the screen. So we meet you where you're at, whether you like to text or use QR codes, whether you like to call or do a Google Meet or text or email. We have the capacity and we have the technology to meet you where you're at, wherever you're most comfortable. So I would advise that you go ahead and fill out that form in case you have any tech difficulties. The team can jump in and help you out. Once you submit that form and you tell us a little bit about your military affiliation, the next thing that's going to happen once you submit that form is you're going to get a text and an email welcoming you into the program. And from that point on, we're going to correspond to you and say, hey, here's our career connections, and hey, here's this job opportunity you might be interested in. The biggest thing I can say from working with our career seekers is, and everyone on my team, and if you're in here, Ayla, Matt, or Jeremy, you can attest to this, connect with us, engage with us on whatever platform you're most comfortable with. Again, whether it's phone, Google Meet, email, text, tell us where you are in your search, and we might be able to give you little tidbits or connect you to resources that will just elevate you to the next level within your career. Engage, engage, engage. All right, next slide. Let's talk about re-entering the workforce post-pandemic. These are kind of some lessons learned by working with our employers and knowing the landscape in Arizona. 2021 is a great time to re-enter the workforce. And we wanted to kick off our initiative with hiring our heroes in the fall because we knew our kids would be going back to school and hopefully the element of childcare would be a little bit easier for everyone. The spike in military spouse unemployment that was addressed by hiring our heroes earlier in the presentation has prompted a surge in resources available to spouses. And sometimes it can almost feel like you're drowning in a sea of resources and it can be very overwhelming. But our team is really here to help you find the right resource at the right time and really focus in on what you need to do to be successful. Additionally, we're seeing some trends that are favoring military spouses very highly. One is remote work. I work 100% remote in my capacity, and I couldn't imagine it any other way. Many of our employers are adapting that same work-life balance model and offering more flexible or remote options for their workforce. So we're really, I'm sure all of us can be really thankful for that as military spouses. Interviews are also being held within a virtual manner. I will never forget about a military spouse who was PCSing from Japan to Arizona, who told me about the time when she brought her children from Japan to Arizona to interview. And unfortunately, she didn't even get the role that she was interviewing for. And this has always been something that's been difficult for us, to be in the place that we're going to and establish the connections and interview and do all of those things. So they're making it easier on us. Let's take advantage of it. Employers are also more open to accepting gaps in employment because guess what? A good proportion of the continental US has gaps in their employment now. Maybe they had to stay home and care for a sick family member or care for their children, whatever it might be. They're seeing some gaps in their employment too. So it's leveled the playing field a little bit. I know that it might not be your time right now to go back to work. Like I said, I took some time off as well, but we do ask that we help take care of your career readiness now, that we set a baseline and establish some basics for you for your future occupation. Let's start planning now. Let's start networking now. So when you are ready, those small steps over time have given you a sense of purpose, and they've been working you towards your long-term goals. All right, next and final slide. This is usually my least favorite slide, and I'll tell you why. 9 times out of 10, when we get to the questions section, everybody hops off of Zoom because they figure, they'll ask later. They've got the inquiry form. They don't want to air their dirty laundry or talk about their struggles. But I'd like to open the floor for questions either to our program or to Hiring Our Heroes, or if there's anything that's come up in the chat. Let's address some of the barriers that have been going on for you individually. What do we got, Randy? Anybody in the chat?
Okay, so one good question. How did you get to 500 plus connections?
Start with who you know. All right, always start with who you know. Your friends, your family, your past coworkers. That's an excellent question. The second piece of it is it takes time. All right, but I'll be your connection and Randy will be your connection. And I hope that anytime you go to these networking events, you drop your LinkedIn in the chat, that you take anyone else who's offering their LinkedIn. Again, I'll have Randy drop a couple LinkedIns in there for you, and hopefully my team will as well. It takes time to grow your network. Be persistent in getting connected, however that looks for you. So whether you like to attend in-person events and then take the names home and find them on LinkedIn, we are really great at networking as military spouses. Use that ability to connect with different communities that you've learned from being a military spouse. Go apply that to LinkedIn, give it some time and persistence, and you will find 500 connections, and then you'll find more.
Okay, we've got another question. Do we have hardware devices that people can use? And we do not. However, maybe we can talk about our partnerships with military installations.
Mm-hmm.
So our military installations are our partners. Hiring Our Heroes are our partners. And every military installation has their education center or their transition assistance center, where you may have access to internet and reliable computers and devices. We also do have space on Luke Air Force Base currently, and we're hoping to expand that to other installations across the state of Arizona.
What installation did that person say? What installation they're from?
Scott Air Force Base.
Scott. Okay. Okay. I was going to say, I'll be at Luke probably next Monday. I'll meet you there, but any other questions or questions for Hiring Our Heroes and what their program can do?
Shelby, can I jump in here?
Of course, come on in.
Hi, hi everyone. My name is Meredith Smith, and I work with Jessica at Hiring Our Heroes and our other volunteers like Amanda across the Military Spouse Professional Network. And I love this conversation that you all are having about resources available within Arizona. I would encourage all military spouses who are in Arizona to think about how you're leveraging organizations like this to make the most of the resources. But one of the things that I wanted to speak to in this conversation about networking, because I think if you have been out of the workforce for a while, or even if you've been in the workforce and you're rethinking your career path, networking can just feel so big. Like, where do you start? What does that mean? What counts as networking? You know, and especially right now, thinking about like going to a networking reception, right? Like, what does that look like? Different parts of the country are open in different amounts. And so I think one of the things that I would also really encourage people to do, thinking about how your network is your net worth, like you said, Shelby, I think that's such a good thing to remember, is thinking about how you build meaningful connections, right? Because I don't want someone to feel like if they don't have 500 connections on LinkedIn, they don't have a meaningful network, or that the goal is 500 connections. The goal is meaningful connections. And so while we certainly, LinkedIn can be a tool to kind of build that catalog of connections, I would encourage anyone who is looking to LinkedIn as a tool to think about how you research on LinkedIn. Like, I love what you said, Shelby, like we can do whatever we are interested in as military spouses. It might look different than if our spouse wasn't in the military, but I encourage you to use LinkedIn to research different industries, research the people who work in the industries that you want to be in, and reach out to them, ask for an informational interview to build that meaningful connection, so that it doesn't feel like an empty ad on LinkedIn, right? And so I offer that because I have been on the other side where it's like, what does networking mean? Like, how does this work? How do I make sure that people know who I am? And I think it's small actions like that, but I just wouldn't want anyone to be discouraged thinking like, I don't have 500 connections. This seems like too big of a mountain to climb. It's not. Start where you are and really work toward building relationships that can turn into connections. So I offer that. I hope that that's helpful to someone, but thank you for the presentation too, Shelby. This was just really, really fabulous information.
Absolutely. And here at the Coalition, we say no wrong person, no wrong door. It only takes one connection to get you where you want to go. That 500 number, again, that's just for me personally to be able to have had those passive opportunities come to me. But certainly if you make those meaningful connections, like Meredith is saying, you know, it could just take one person. So start where you are and go from there. It's a great point.
Can I jump in as well?
Yeah.
I want to say, like, from a social media perspective and managing a page, I can see that like when people use the hashtag, so on LinkedIn, that is a great resource for military spouses to look at specific LinkedIn hashtags that represent their industry. Yeah, there are going to be some with only a couple followers, but there will be some that have thousands. And, you know, really leveraging that to find connections within that industry is a great way to just start, because I am somebody that keeps my LinkedIn pretty locked down. So I feel like if that 500 connection spot is kind of scary for you, or is just not something that you're looking for, look at different ways to leverage those connections, whether it be through the hashtags or through your messages, and like Meredith was saying, make those meaningful connections, because it does make a big difference in how well you're able to network with specific people.
Absolutely. And to speak to that a little bit more, Jessica, you know, we know that we can get that free LinkedIn premium through MySeco, and our program would be happy to get you connected with the resource if you don't already have the LinkedIn premium. But with LinkedIn premium, you also get LinkedIn Learning. And is a learning platform for multiple different industries. They have learning groups that if you decide, let's just take the marketing example from Melissa that I had earlier, you know, she was going into LinkedIn Learning courses and brushing up on her social media marketing and meeting people in those groups that had similar interests to her. And that's how she was able to do those informal interviews that let her know she needed to create a Wix website to be able to be competitive in the market. So getting a LinkedIn premium account and access to LinkedIn Learning might be another great pathway to make those meaningful connections as well. Any other questions we're getting in the chat? This is a really good conversation.
Yeah, we've got a couple questions. So one of them is, are there any good templates or a good way to send communication to a recruiter via LinkedIn?
So I would advise that you don't start with, hi, I'm interested in your social media marketing position, and here is my resume. See if you can connect with that recruiter on an emotional level first, and let them know what you're interested in general before just sending your CV or your resume. And the reason I say that is because, again, we're touching on this, like this meaningful connection building on LinkedIn. They're getting a lot of people that are just, sending that information through to them. So if you can connect with them on an emotional level first, either through LinkedIn, or there's many different groups within LinkedIn. Vets to Industry is just one of them that you can connect with, where there's groups of recruiters that you can just go and talk to in, an informal setting and connect with them that way. And then maybe you go to LinkedIn, connect with them on LinkedIn after you've already spoken in a networking setting, and then send your resume. So again, always building those meaningful connections, but that's a great question.
And I would also add, Shelby, too, I can't help myself here. So I would also add that I think one of the things, and I'll just say from personal experience, right, like some messages, and I'm not a recruiter, but I do get a lot of LinkedIn messages. And I think the messages that I am most drawn to are messages that, and I think this is just an innate human thing, are messages that are not, hey, what can you do for me, as the undertone, right? Like if you remember that the person that you're messaging is also a person, right? And if you are truly trying to build that professional relationship, even though it's virtual, if you can remember that that is a two-way, that's a two-person job, right? It can't just be people doing something for you. You also need to be bringing value to that person. I think that will, especially if the person is not technically a recruiter, right? Like recruiters do have numbers that they're trying to hit, but I think often when we're looking at building relationships that can lead to the warm handoffs, that lead to the jobs that are never posted online, if you can remember that part of building that relationship is not just taking from that other person, it's offering something to them as well, that will serve you and pay dividends beyond just reaching out and saying like, hey, I'm looking for this, what can you do for me? Like be willing to put in the effort to build that relationship. So, but it's hard, I think too, for us as spouses, we are often coming from a deficit mentality, right? We don't have a job. We know we need one. We know the time is now. We know the clock is ticking. Like that's what we're thinking. But if we remember that the other person is a person too, it helps us take a step back and build that meaningful relationship.
I can't agree more. It's a two-way street. And maybe talking about a commonality that you have with that person. Maybe they're a military spouse too, or maybe you just read a book that you have a common industry knowledge, you might have a common industry knowledge of, and just say, hey, I just read this book on logistics, and this person happens to be in logistics. Have you checked this out? I'd really love to connect with you and see your content. That's a great way to get that conversation started.
And I'd like to shameless plug here. So if you're in Tucson at Davis Monthan, our network is actually going to be teaching a class on LinkedIn on base. So if you are in the Tucson area, I'm going to go ahead and drop our email address. It's going to be at the base installation at the Airmen and Family Readiness Center. So feel free to sign up for that. It'll be September 24th. But I'm going to give you their phone number, or you can email us and we'll help you get more information. But yes, shameless plug. You can come and listen to me talk for an hour and a half about LinkedIn, because Shelby is so right. It is such a great resource. And I can't speak highly of it enough. So that's another resource available to everyone.
Sure. I'm going to go ahead and drop my LinkedIn in the chat, and please feel free to connect with me. Are there any other questions?
There are no other questions in the chat.
Okay. Well, if you'd like to drop your LinkedIn in there, I can scroll through and get everybody. Otherwise, my folks at Hiring Our Heroes. Anything else?
I don't think so. Thank you so much for attending. We really appreciate you and the Be Connected organization as a whole. So we really appreciate you coming out, and we look forward to continuing to work with you in the future.
Yeah, likewise. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, guys.